Hello to all. I'm a bit overrated to talk to such exalted company. And today's topic is about those Internet Explorer accelerators. As I already was introduced, I'm Ivars. I work mostly with Microsoft technologies. And I'm a member of local Microsoft Technologies user group, and here you can probably see email address where you can contact me. But back to today's topic. So what is an accelerator? Accelerator basically is an extension which you can integrate with Internet Explorer's context menu to allow user easier access to some service your web-based application provides. It works with Internet Explorer versions from 8 and greater, and it's used to act on data which is on some other web page. So user basically browses some pages, sees some interesting information, selects it, and does something with it. For example, you see an address of, I don't know, some interesting restaurant, and you want to find where it is, and unfortunately web page doesn't provide map with location of those restaurants. So what do? You select this address, right click, select some of accelerators which provide mapping, for example Google Maps or Bing Maps, and it just sends this address to some map web page, gets back location and shows it. So basically what those accelerators do is, as I put on slide, they accelerate data transfer from one web page to another. Before they were introduced, you had to manually select something, copy, open new page or new tab, put into search those information, and do some other actions to get result. And all data between those pages is passed by plain old HTTP variables. They can be put in URL in GET request or sent by POST request. It actually doesn't matter. What are components of accelerator when you create your own accelerator? Basically, there are two parts. One is the declaration for this accelerator, which is used for Internet Explorer to find out and put it in a corresponding category or somewhere where it needs to belong, and to know in what context it's used. And the main point is that in this XML you define address of this web page which is used for processing those data. And logically another component is actually plain web page which receives data and processes and shows some result. We will take a look at those declarations and samples a bit later. I'll just quickly glance over some main points. This declaration is part of so-called open service format, which is Microsoft format for several additions for Internet Explorer starting from version 8. There goes accelerators, there goes search providers, I think there was something other. But today we are interested in accelerator part. And it defines, as I already told, how this accelerator will look in context menu of Internet Explorer and context of calling your web service which operates on data. If we look at web page which processes data for accelerator, it's not tied to any particular platform or technology. So it doesn't need to be ASP.NET page. It can be, I don't know, PHP, Ruby, you name it, you can use it. And data transfer is done through parameters for get and or post. And one thing which you need to take note of is that for accelerators there are two modes. There is so-called preview mode, when you see just a small screen, which is useful, for example, for translations or maybe for those mappings. And there is limitation that this small screen, which is shown in Explorer, is 32 by 230 pixels. And it is not recommended to use some scrolls there, as main point of providing this preview is to show user just a quick glance of this thing your service does. So there's written questions, but actually it means that this is time for demonstration, and questions will be after that. So I will switch back to Visual Studio. There is a default page which is created when you create new ASP.NET application, and nothing more. If you take a look at it, it's something like this. Mostly accelerators work like you do somewhere right click, take accelerator. Well, you see that there is no actions available for this particular page. But if we take a look at this declaration, there is a very simple declaration which contains only main elements which need to be put in XML to define some accelerator. So, what we have here? There is URL of page which provides service. It's this localhost part in homepage URL. It's not URL of a particular page which processes your request. It's just a home page of your service. If it will be Google Maps, then it probably should point to main Google Maps page. If it's, I don't know, Amazon's accelerator, then it should point to Amazon. Next block is a part which says how it will be put into menu. It contains a short name which used in menu, icon, and description which is shown in Explorer's accelerator management page. And after that comes the most interesting part, which is a definition of action which can be performed. There is category, as accelerators are categorized and grouped by them. It's advised to use verbs as categories. I think I'm a bit broken this rule. And there are some predefined categories for you to use, but you can put anything you want in there actually. And after that there comes action, for which is two parts. One of them is preview and other is execute. They can actually be the same. And mostly there is nothing fancy or very interesting. When you need to add this accelerator to your instance of Explorer, you need to do some JavaScript magic. So again, it's nothing complicated. It's just you put some link anywhere on your page and assign simple JavaScript, which is Internet Explorer specific, and you call add service method with link to XML, which provides description. If we look at it, and there is some other quite simple JavaScript which basically checks if this accelerator is already installed and disables button in such case. There is one limitation, at least in my opinion. The checking for existing accelerator is done by its category, not its name or XML file which describes. So basically it means that your page can have only one accelerator of particular category. Probably it makes some sense. So if we go back to browser and open this accelerators page, there is some annoying thing with nice Internet Explorer page that it doesn't show loading indicator after a while. So it seems that nothing happens. Can you see there are 3 buttons for 3 sample accelerators I prepared for today. They are all very simple in things that they do. Because I just intended to show you most basic things about how you interact with accelerators without going into some details about some complicated process to do flashy things and so on. It just, if we have this simple version, it just displays selected word from previous page. So if we refresh, we can see that this button is disabled because accelerator is already added to add-ons. And we can check it out in Manage Add-ons section. So we see here. As I already said, there's nothing fancy, just bare minimum to do something with accelerators. So if we select some text, okay, I just made some small mistake, and this accelerator isn't working in context of selection but called this page, and it basically shows this page. If you click on it, it will open it in new tab, not in this preview window. So those are the very basics of how accelerators function. Next, I would want to show you how parameters are passed and what are available data what you can get from Colli website to your service. There are 2 ways how you can pass parameters to your service. One of them is URL template. When you basically write URL with some placeholders which then are expanded to data which are sent. Again, nothing fancy, just plain parameters. I have put there all possible parameters which you can transfer. And if we take a look how it looks in Explorer, there you can, okay, where's my accelerator? Who took it away? The main problem was, sorry? So, the reason why I couldn't see this accelerator when I selected something is context in which accelerator is available. And there are three distinct possibilities, which I will tell you about later. But here you can see, again, very simple processor, which shows just values of those past parameters. And available parameters which you can pass depends on which context you are running your accelerator. If we switch back to Visual Studio, you can see this part where it's context defined. So those three possibilities are selection, when you are mostly passing selected information, document, when you want to work with called document, that is called web page in which user is working, and you can set context to link, and then it will pass information about selected link, and accelerator will be available only if user presses right button on some link. So if we change it, for example, to link, and put this new version. So we can see that this accelerator isn't available in document context, but is available when you select some link. And you can see that some of link parameters are now passed to your service. The one type which is most restricted, if we take a look at which parameters are passed, are context selection, when only the selection are passed due to privacy reasons. Another way how to pass those parameters is basically just syntax difference. When you define all those parameters in XML, not putting them into link. But parameters which can be passed are the same. And if we take a look again, you see that there is no real difference between both of those versions. And just to be sure that I'm not hiding something from you, I can show code which takes those parameters out of request and puts out on screen. So, as I already said, there is nothing fancy going on there. What you can put in those pages which sets your accelerators? Almost anything. It's just your fantasy which limits you. From existing categories, as far as I know, there is some translation services, some logging services, something related with shopping, maps. Mostly that's it. But you can take any local service which you have, for example, I don't know, local version of Facebook or something, and create a special accelerator for Internet Explorer to allow more streamlined experience for Explorer users. So mostly that was all from technical side. As I already said, there is nothing complicated with creating one, and the only limiting factor is your time. So any questions?
Hello, Marie. My question would be, is there any way that this technology will be more widely spread than Internet Explorer?
I'm not looking into it in last half a year or so, but when I was originally doing my research about accelerators, it was when Internet Explorer 8 came out. And some months after that, there was available some Firefox extensions which were using those same definitions and providing mostly the same functionality. But I don't know which is current. What is current status about this?
Okay, I have a question. What's the real benefit in using accelerators instead of using pure JavaScript implementation? As I can see, we can make AJAX requests with pure JavaScript. We can touch events to right mouse button, etc. The main benefit it will be cross-browser, not only Internet Explorer related.
One thing is about cross-browser, but main benefit, which I don't think your version covers, is that they are intended to do cross-web page communication. They are not intended to be used in your web pages. They are used to provide your service for a user which browses other web pages. For example, take the same Amazon example. You are browsing some, I don't know, Gizmodo or something and see new shiny gadget. You just select it and right click on this selection and select, I don't know, shopping search in Amazon. And you get in review, prices, ratings, something like that. Without anything, without any changes from Gizmodo side. You as service provider provide this accelerator and user it uses on whatever sites he wishes.
Okay, I see. So accelerators are the same as, for example, Firefox extensions and Opera use JavaScript and Chrome extensions.
Something like that, but not quite.
Okay.
You can provide the same functionality with extensions, but extensions are more powerful thing. You can do not only data transfer between two pages, but you can, as we all know in Firefox, you can do almost anything with them. But accelerators, as I already said, is intended to give user more easy, more accelerated way to transfer data from one page he's working on to another.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Well, let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are some resources where you can read about accelerators. I will put this presentation somewhere online probably, but thank you for listening and patience to listen to my voice.